Hey folks, this is Z-Man with Kadesh Farm. I wanted to shoot a quick video of a little homemade drag, harrow, whatever you want to call it, that I made in order to increase the soil to seed contact. I am out in one of my fields that I burned, and my goal was to take my tiller and lightly till the top quarter-inch of the soil, but the PTO went out in my tractor. And I just had to brainstorm and figure out how to increase the soil to seed contact, or make the chance a lot better for it to make contact. And I come up with this idea, just trying to figure out, yes, I could go out and buy a harrow to disturb the soil a little more, but I went and bought 14 lag bolts, put it in a pallet. These bolts are roughly 3.5 inches, and I run them all the way down until it gets to this smooth part, to the end of the thread. And I noticed the ones that I ran at an angle, because I didn't want to remove this part of the pallet, due to wanting to keep the weight on the pallet, more weight on the pallet. I noticed they move a little bit, but they still create a lot of disturbance in the soil. Like I said, maybe the first quarter inch or so, or inch, enough to remove some of the grasses, because I'm a little bit behind on getting this area taken care of due to my PTO going out on my tractor. But the little idea I come up with, I think is going to work. I planted some black oil sunflower seeds. Let's go over here and take a look. Basically, this is my little test area over here. It stays relatively, I guess when it rains a lot in this field, I'll call this field soggy bottom. You probably can't see, but that's where my pond drains and dumps into this creek over here. But this area here, once it rained, it'll pool in certain areas, but it quickly dries out. This used to be kind of like that patch right there, a bunch of broom sedge, and I burned it. I didn't get an opportunity to burn that section right there. So this area stays pretty decently dry, where it wouldn't allow the seeds to stay waterlogged. So I went to TSC, I guess I can see a store, one of the tractor supply locations, and bought a bag, 40-pound bag of black oil sunflower seeds. I had some buckwheat, some ryegrass, some winter wheat or wheat berry, and this fertilizer. I had some kale, turnips, radish, and clovers, a clover mix. I just had these seeds I've been having since maybe over a year. So I just kind of threw them into the mix. Heck, I even took a kernel of corn and broke it up and just threw it in here. Yeah, it is almost the 1st of April, so we may look at an opportunity to get more frost. But I want to see if this method would work. Like I said, this section is roughly 50 by 50, maybe. Just a little play around spot. This is on the backside of one of my larger fields. And I wanted to see whether, and buckwheat. I think, did I mention buckwheat? I think I may have mentioned buckwheat. But I wanted to see if my little harrow drag, or whatever you want to call it, worked. Basically, I pulled it behind my four-wheeler. I'll show you right quick. I put the weight on there, which is a brick. And I had this cable. I've been using this cable for everything. It used to be a tie-out for a dog, and some kind of way the end broke, and I strapped it onto my four-wheeler, and man, I've been using this thing for years, and to pull all kinds of things. So I actually put the brick onto the pallet. I'll show you right quick. Oh, I'll take this bad boy, put it off into one of these creases here, just to give it a little bit of weight to keep the front end down on the ground. And as you take a look at some of the streaks that these lag boats have made, it did a pretty good job of disturbing the soil. So it's a pretty good chance when I distributed my seed, some will fall into the cracks that I've made with these lag bolts. I kind of tried to make them staggered so they would not be directly lined up, so it would have a little more coverage on disturbing the soil. The area before my tractor had, the PTO went out, I had already had it tilled just a little bit, and I was able to use that drag / Harrow to remove a lot of the clumps, and it actually distributed the dirt. So I imagine that would work pretty good on going over cow manure to spread it. But I think this will work pretty decent. I will see. I will do another video. They say buckwheat takes 3 to 4 days to germinate. I think the soil temperature is right at 50. So a lot of the things that I put into the ground should germinate. But if a frost come along, depending on the stage of the sunflower, the buckwheat, and of course the corn, it may get zapped. But this is just a little trial and error. I have another section that I'm about to go and drag right now, and I will focus on cool season grasses in those areas up there using this drag. I have another larger grate that I usually pull on the back of my four-wheeler to increase the soil to seed contact. Sorry about that, sun. And it's way over at the cabin, and I really don't feel like going up there to get it. So I will just run this little drag that I have to see how it works. I mean, I should have did a video right before I started, because the grasses that began to grow out here, and it had really began to, I was a little worried. But since we had rain 2 days ago, the ground is still soft, and I was able to create a lot of disturbance to increase the seed to soil contact. This is from my four-wheeler here, and you can see how much soil has been brought up from my little homemade drag. So if you got a little small plot that's burned down, because if this was tall grass, I would either have to spray it, cut it, or either till it, because if the grass was taken, it would be hard for the little seedlings to compete. But this right here, I had just recently burned this area, maybe, helicopter coming by, maybe a month ago. And that's the reason why the grasses haven't begun to grow. They're starting to sprout now because the weather is changing. However, I was able to get in here fast enough. I'll take you over to another section. Man, look at all this. Is the strip that I did about 2 years ago, and I let it grow up, and I got all kinds of little clover growing in it. Take you over here. This is another area I think I will, yes, I'll drag this section right here. But the broom sedge is tall, but it's burned. And then you have a little bit of undergrowth that is trying to grow up. And I think my little drag may be able to disturb it enough to increase the soil to seed contact and see what I can get going, I hope. We did a controlled burn 3 weeks ago with my daughter, and man, it actually got away from us, but it did a very good job of getting me down to soil. Still have roots in place to keep the soil from getting washed away, but it will help me increase the seed to soil contact with my little deal that I made. Burned up all my cow hay and feed. Fire got away from us, and man, it was almost a panic moment there for a second. It went from no wind to, I don't know what happened. It scared us to death. Ended up burning my fence row, which was okay, and went over to my neighbor's side, which he was okay with it because there's a creek that runs along there. He wanted me to burn his field, but I was not here to do that on that day. But it ended up burning some areas that I didn't want burned. But you got lemons, make lemonade. So I will come over and drag this section here. As you can see, a little bit of soil is exposed. I'll take my drag it, and then put seed on it, drag it again to kind of make sure that the seed to soil contact is there like I want it, and just sit back and let let it do what it do. Let it grow. Thank you guys for watching. This is Z-Man, and I'm out.